Hey there, this is Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, author, book coach, and consultant. Happy Wednesday. Happy April 5th. There are shout outs to several birthdays today. So happy birthday to all the April 5th babes out there. Congratulations on another turn around the sun. And so this is Wednesday, Write It Out Wednesday, where we come before you to put you back at the top of your writing list. So many times, so many things get in the way of you being able to focus on your writing. And even I, have to make time. I participated in a scheduled writing time even on yesterday. So I have to schedule it. You do too. And so for those who don't know me, I work with writing and time challenge clients, helping them get their stories told, their books published, and their dreams fulfilled. And since about 2019, I've helped about 40 individuals write and publish their books for the first time. And some we are working on their second and third books. So shout out to all my authors in the Book Coach Accelerator space. I'm just proud of you. And we are working on about 6 more right now. So always something in the pipeline. There's so many stories. And so you'll be hearing some more from me about some other projects I'm working on. We have an event called Breathe that's coming out on April 15th. If you are interested, let me know. It's going to be on a Saturday, 1 to 4. We're going to be helping to unpack some of this trauma. A lot of times in working with clients, we find that people aren't able to move forward and telling their stories because they don't know how to deal with some of the parts of their story that might have them stuck. So we're going to deal with that, delve right in and even right through it with some very practical ways to do that. But tonight we have a topic and we're going to talk about perspective. It's like, so shout out to all of you out here. It's like that word has so many different meanings. And even in this week, Holy Week, I just thought it was a great word to start this Write It Out Wednesday with, because a lot of times it's all about perspective. It's all about how you see things. It's all about how you view things. And so I wanted to share with you a few things, just going to take a few moments and share with you just some of the things I've learned about perspective over time. Now, number one, when it comes to stories, everyone has a different perspective. So even I was just saying, like we've written and helped people write so many different kinds of books, and not one book is the same. Even my authors who have written multiple books, one book is just as different as the next one is the next one. And so, and even when they write in different genres, so it's totally different, the perspective that they're coming from. And, for example, in a family of 5 kids, of which I am part of one, how each child saw themselves in relation to their parents, in relation to each other, and even how they saw themselves, all totally different. And I'm pretty sure that whether it's in your family, mine, or anyone else's, that everyone came out of those families of origin with a different perspective. They did different things. They saw their relationships in different ways. They went in different directions, for the most part. And their lives and relationships with their family members and others are all pretty different depending on their perspective. And so one of the things, even as we write our stories, is what is your perspective? Or what perspective are you coming from when you tell that story? Because that's important. It's like, because you really have to sit down. Like I'm working on a script right now. I'm in a script writing class. So we're, working on our short films. And one of the things is like, what perspective are we coming from? What angle, where are we putting the setting of that story? And so you have to know these things in order to know, am I coming from the past, the present, what state am I in? What location is an exterior, interior? What is my perspective and how am I viewing that particular story that I want to tell? Because that's going to make all the difference in, and the words that you put on paper, what you want your actors to say, what you want your audience to read. It all depends on the perspective. And so, that's the first thing. It's just like, where, that everyone's going to have a different one. Okay. That's the first one. When it comes to perspective, you're going to have different ones. Number 2, your perspective also depends on your priorities. Okay. Depends on your priorities. For example, someone whose priority is saving money, for example, is going to be totally different, or they're going to see their viewpoint, their perspective on someone who, say, every time they get paid, they go shopping. Now, without knowing anything about that person, you may be like, oh my God, they're spendthrift. Like, why are they doing that? Like, that's so unnecessary. That's so frivolous. But you don't know what they're doing. You don't know if part of their business model is that, I need to stay on trend. I need to, make sure that I'm posting certain things that have the latest, this, that, or the other. This is why I'm shopping, or this is my scheduled shopping time when I get things from my business or even from my home. So without knowing anything about that person that you just gave a perspective on, you could be wrong, and you don't know what their priorities versus what yours are. So as we write our stories, deciding what are the priorities of your character? What are the priorities in your story? What do you need to do first? What do you need to do next? So knowing the level and the type of priority you want to put. Is it a high priority? Do you need to hurry up and get this done? Or can it wait? What's the first things you have to do? Have you done your outline? Is that more priority than your characterization? Or do you need to see, a fully developed character before you start moving forward with your story? So again, perspective, number one, depends on the person, and it can be different. And then it's also about priorities. And then just a third thing is perspective allows you to change your mind. And I think that this is one of the best things because, when you're working on something and maybe you have a set way that you want to do that thing, you may say like, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. And then when I do that, then I'm going to do this, and that's it. Or, the way you travel, it's like, we're going to get up at 3:00 in the morning. We're going to get in that car and we're going to go 95 all the way, but the thing is, what if there is construction on half the route you want to take? Are you willing to change perspective on how you thought you were going to get there to maybe an alternative way to do it? It's the same with your story. You may have a very set way, but as you're writing, and I love, particularly even in fiction, that, and I used to do a lot of theater and write, my characters would tell me, like, I wouldn't say that. Like, you need to change that line because that's not what I would say. And it might sound a little weird, but your character should be alive enough, at least in your mind and on paper, that they tell you, that when you've thoroughly kind of place that character, in their world, when you've developed them, when you've created the characterization, what do they like? What do they look like? Where do they live? What are their skills and gifts and talents? What do they do? What's the thing that's driving them? What's their goal? Then they will tell you when you're out of alignment with what they would do. But again, what I love about perspective when it comes to, writing or really a lot of things that you could do is that you can change it. Just like many things in life, if you don't like the way something is going, if you don't like even something about yourself, change it. You don't have to be stuck in a place that's not working for you anymore. You don't have to be stuck in your mind with ideas and thoughts that aren't working for you. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm saying it can be done. And you just have to decide, what perspective am I going to have with regard to the way I'm thinking, with the way my life is going, with the choices that I'm making? Do I need to do something different? Because even in your story, if that story is not going, because sometimes people, they just have to get it out. Like, they have to write it the way they think they're supposed to write it. And then after they read it, they're like, you know what? I need to go back and rewrite that. And the great thing about that is it is okay to do that. It is so good to have the courage, even sometimes, to change your mind, to change your direction, to change the way you're going and do something different, because often that's the thing that will work out for you. And when it comes to perspective, again, we are in Holy Week. For many of those in the Christian community that, this is a very somber week for some, in terms of, the things that are happening. But then, there's this great thing that happens at the end. And so, even when from looking at the events that took place, as we get to the end of this week, it was very terrible. It was somber. It was overwhelming. It caused people to leave and run and hide, and it caused someone to die, but the thing about it is, it's like their perspective changed by that third day. And so, hey, Eloise, good to see you, my dear. She is the winner of our Black and Lovely short story contest. And we've just been talking about perspective. I wasn't going to be before you long. I'll just run quickly through some of the points I was making that when it comes to perspective, there are kind of three ways I like to look at it. And one is everyone has a different one. how you see things, how you wrote, because even, when I was deciding on who was going to be the winner of the short story contest, the stories that you all submitted were so different. No one's story was exactly like anyone else's. No one's perspective in how they wrote the story, was the same. And so as a result, I had to have different criteria for how I made a decision about, what stories were going to be the winners. And so, you are one of our winners. You are a top winner for that. So we just celebrate having a different perspective, because that's how come books and words and presentations, the arts, don't go out of style, because there's always a new turn, a new twist. That's why technology keeps changing, house styles, furniture, even the way, appliances are made. I remember when wall-to-wall carpet was a big deal. Now people are like, oh my God, wood floors. Wood floors used to be the standard, and people covered them up with nice carpet. And then now people are like, I hate carpet. So perspective changes all the time. The second thing we talked about was your perspective can change or be different based on your priorities. What's a priority for one person may not be a priority for you. And so being able to accept that because of your perspective, where you sit in the world, where you sit in a family, in a relationship, in the workplace, in your business, your perspective is different, and therefore your priorities will be different too. And then finally, the last point that I was making was about being able to change your perspective. And that's one of the great things. It's just just being able to change, period. A lot of people get stuck in a place, get stuck in their mindset, how they think, they're like, oh my God, no, I'm not changing. I'm changing what I wear. I'm not changing. It's like, I'm not changing what I eat, which can be a major issue as you get older, and the things that you ate when you were younger, not so much you can do that as you age. And so, being able to change, being able to shift and adjust your life, your perspective is actually a superpower. I'll put it out there like that. That's something that helps you move into different spaces, connect with different people, and be able to do things maybe you never even thought possible, because you were willing to change, because you were willing to shift, adjust, change your perspective, and change your mind, that you are now seeing your life in a whole new way. So that's what we're talking about today. Because as we write our books, as we write our stories, what is your perspective? What is this perspective you're coming from? Understand it, it's going to be different for all the people. Yes, you need courage to change. Number 2, it's going to be based on your priorities. And number 3, always know that you can change your priority. You can change your perspective rather at any time. It doesn't have to stay the same, because as you learn better, learn more, you can do more and do better. In the same way, it's just like, even with your children, with yourself, with your family, you're like, you hope you're going to do better. You hope people change. You want people to change. The thing is, that sometimes it might be good when people's like, oh, you haven't changed a bit, but on the other hand, it's just like, no, I have. I really have, or they're like, oh, you changed, so sometimes it can be seen based on that perspective in a negative light. But the thing is, we're always growing. If your baby never grew, never changed, you would be concerned. You would take that child to what's wrong with my baby? The baby's not growing. Baby's not changing. The baby's priorities aren't changing. I have an 8-month-old granddaughter, and it's like her priorities are changing. She's up more. She's doing stuff more. She's making noises and playing. She's got a certain toy she's holding on to. Like, she won't let it go. She won't let you take it from her until she falls asleep, And so her priorities are changing, her perspective, and the parents are adjusting to that. And so that's some of the things we have to do as we write our stories. It's just like, what perspective are you coming from? Being open to others, being open to other different perspectives, being open to other different priorities you have and others have, as well as being willing and flexible to change. So I'm Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, author, book coach, and consultant. I work with writing and time-challenged clients, help them get their stories told, their books published, and their dreams fulfilled. I'll see you next time.